In 2016, a coffee roaster was discovered in a Serbian farmer's barn, caked in corrosion, its firebox cold for decades. It was built in 1896, and it is now believed to be the oldest known coffee roaster still in operation on Earth. The man entrusted to bring it back to life once restored cars for Jay Leno. But the story of this machine begins long before that, in 19th century Germany. At the time, roasting was a manual, unpredictable task. Operators tossed green beans over open fires in shallow pans, producing uneven, often scorched results. While earlier British and American inventors like Richard Evans and Jabez Burns patented enclosed drums, commercial demand required greater scale and consistency. In 1868, three German engineers, Alex van Gulpen, Johann Heinrich Lenzing, and Theodor von Gimborn, founded the Emmericher Maschinenfabrik und Eisengesserei. 2 years later, they introduced a spherical roaster. Its rounded chamber distributed heat far more evenly than a flat pan, proving that mechanical design could deliver repeatable quality. In 1884, the German firm patented the Caffe Schnell Roaster, or rapid coffee roaster, a design that fundamentally changed commercial production. The machine featured a rotating cylinder that kept coffee beans in constant tumbling motion, preventing them from scorching against a single hot surface. Inside, a helical Archimedes screw fan forced heated air directly through the moving mass, pulling away smoke and moisture. Because the drum was fully enclosed, operators no longer faced the choking fumes of open pan roasting. Using a manual crank to maintain a steady drum rotation, a single worker could monitor the batch with precision. This system delivered larger, highly repeatable batches, allowing merchants to meet the demands of a rapidly growing market. By the late 19th century, these drum roasters began appearing far beyond Germany's borders. The Emmerich factory reported a milestone of nearly 50,000 units sold worldwide by 1900. Around this era of expansion, the trademark Probat became the company's defining identity, though the official naming date varies across corporate records. This global momentum faced a severe disruption during World War II, when Allied bombing raids largely destroyed the manufacturing plant. Reconstruction between 1944 and 1949 allowed the company to transition toward gas-fired systems. Gas provided a cleaner burn and far more precise temperature control than traditional coal or wood. This engineering shift culminated in the classic post-war UG line, establishing a design that would support commercial coffee production for the next generation. Today, the German legacy brand is widely described within the specialty coffee industry as a world-leading manufacturer of roasting equipment. While audited market share figures are not publicly available, industry commentary frequently points to Probat as the world's largest coffee roaster manufacturer. From the 2000s through the 2020s, the company transitioned to software-driven, sensor-rich systems like the Probat One. These contemporary machines use digital control, roast profiling, and detailed data logging to regulate gas and airflow with immense precision. Even in a market shared with prominent builders like Burns, Gothot, Loring, Diedrich, Giesen, and Yoper, these highly automated systems remain a global standard. Yet this digital consistency stands in stark contrast to an older, entirely manual way of roasting, one guided not by algorithms but by human senses and open flame. In a quiet corner of Washington state, a massive relic of this manual era still operates. This German-built Probat roaster, reported to have been constructed in 1896, is a monumental assembly of cast iron and brick. Weighing approximately 13,000 pounds, the machine features a heavy drum, open gears, vents, and a brick-lined firebox designed to process batches of up to 120 kilograms. Every phase of the roast relies on a manual crank and direct fire control. Because Probat's early serial number registers are incomplete, the machine is carefully described as the world's oldest known working coffee roaster. Its survival for more than a century remains an extraordinary distinction, preserving a tangible connection to the early days of industrial food production. Inside the rotating cast iron drum, green coffee beans tumble through a continuous cycle of heat. 3 physical forces act at once: conduction from direct contact with the hot metal walls, convection from moving air currents, and radiant heat rising from the firebox below. As moisture leaves the beans, they change from green to yellow and then to brown, releasing a sweet, developing aroma into the air. Managing this thermal progression requires constant vigilance. The wood fire naturally creates uneven heat zones, demanding manual adjustments of dampers, draft vents, and fuel logs. Without digital sensors, the operator must use a practiced ear to catch the sharp pop of the first crack, signaling the release of built-up steam and carbon dioxide. Success depends entirely on human judgment, reading the subtle shifts in sound, smell, and color before discharging the hot batch to the cooling tray. This careful balance of air, metal, and flame is a centuries-old craft. But can this physical logic survive decades of complete neglect? In 2016, a photograph sent from a farm in Serbia revealed a massive shape hidden in a neglected barn. For decades, the 1896 Probat had sat in silent decay, far from its former industrial purpose. The years of storage had taken a heavy toll, leaving behind severe corrosion, seized gears, missing bolts, and a crumbling brick firebox. While contemporary accounts repeat the story of its shipment to the United States, no published customs or freight records exist, and much of its history remains lost. The original buyer, the ownership chain, and even the Serbian farmer's identity are entirely undocumented. The machine survived simply as a massive, rusted puzzle, waiting for someone with the skill to decode its mechanical past. The task of reviving the damaged machine fell to David Cornell, a mechanical restoration specialist who had previously served as head restoration manager for Jay Leno's classic car collection and crew chief for record-setting aircraft. Over nearly 3 years, beginning in 2017, Cornell approached the project like mechanical archaeology. He fully disassembled the 13,000-pound frame, cleaning and cataloging every gear. He sandblasted the heavily oxidized cast iron drum, polished its interior, and remachined the worn axle bushings to their original 19th century tolerances. Because no original service manual survived, Cornell relied on mechanical intuition and automotive problem-solving to rebuild the brick-lined firebox and recreate missing brackets from period-appropriate cast iron. He preserved the original metal patina, focusing on functional integrity rather than cosmetic perfection. To meet modern safety standards without altering the machine's historic operating character, he discreetly installed a secondary exhaust system, a temperature probe, and pressure relief valves. The years of labor culminated in a successful test run where a wood fire of cherry, alder, and maple warmed the drum, roasting green beans to a perfect aromatic brown. Today, this reconstructed machine is far from a silent museum exhibit. In Yakult, Washington, Caffe keeps the historic roaster in active service, running production batches approximately once a week. Todd Miller serves as the primary operator and present custodian, working as an authentic wood roaster. Operating a 19th century machine today requires constant physical labor. Every roasting day begins with building and managing the wood fire, followed by high-temperature lubrication of the heavy gear train. Milar and his team perform careful inspections and clean the cast iron drum to prevent carbon buildup, ensuring fire safety with every run. This ongoing routine bridges the gap between historical preservation and active industry. Rather than sitting behind a velvet rope, the 1896 Probat remains a living tool, passing practical knowledge from the machine to the operator and directly to the customer. To preserve the finished beans, Caffe relies on vintage vacuum canners of reported German origin, dating from the 1920s and 1940s. While the exact manufacturers and serial histories of these machines remain unconfirmed, they continue a classic era of food preservation. The physical sequence of filling, sealing, and storing the metal tins supports Caffe's claim of exceptional freshness. This traditional method presents a notable scientific trade-off. Vacuum sealing removes oxygen, but it can also draw out the protective carbon dioxide that naturally shields roasted coffee. In contrast, modern one-way valve bags allow these gases to escape while preventing oxygen from entering. Without independent blind sensory testing, the technique values historical authenticity over scientifically proven superiority. Still, this unbroken chain from wood fire roasting to vintage preservation connects generations through shared engineering and taste. You can taste the history and try Caffe wood-roasted coffee at pulcaffe.com. In a world of planned obsolescence, this surviving giant stands in quiet defiance. It proves that true craftsmanship never truly expires. It simply waits for those with the patience to keep the fire burning.